Hi, and welcome back. Here we are talking about intelligence. And intelligence is one of those complicated topics because it's kind of controversial and very passionate for people. You have people that will score high on some type of standardized IQ test, and then they get all, look at me, I have 160. And then other people will score low, and then they think that means that they're dumb, and they don't understand how intelligence comes in different shapes and sizes and forms and functions. And so we're going to look real quickly at how our textbook deals with it. And then I have this book here called Intelligence Reframed by Howard Gardner. And it's referred to in our textbook, albeit the book is actually a little different than how our textbook explains it. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit more thoroughness because I like to make things as accurate as I possibly can for you in this learning part of your academic career and study. So, and then when we're all done looking at the types of intelligence, we're going to wrap this up with asking an odd question. What role does technology play in shaping our intelligence? Is it heightening it, speeding it up, decreasing it? Are kids becoming smarter because of Google? Are they becoming dumber because of Google, etc.? So that's what we're going to be looking at here. And so I hope you're ready to dig right into this. So let's go ahead and let's have some fun. So the textbook gives us this definition that intelligence is the ability to learn from experience, to solve problems, and to use knowledge to adapt to new situations. Pretty decent definition, straightforward, very tangible, easy to put our hands on and sink our teeth into. Gardner, however, Howard Gardner redefines it in a very different way, and he kind of zeroes it in more. It's more fine-tuned, and it has a more applicational abilities to it. So he defines intelligence as a biopsychological potential. Okay, now that's important. Pause there. Biopsychological. That means that intelligence for Gardner is not strictly mental. It's not strictly the recalling of information. It has a biological component to it. In other words, it could be more mechanical, hands-on, kinesthetic. It can be more musical even, rather than simply I know a lot of facts in my brain and can critically think very well. Okay, so it's biopsychological potential to process information that can be activated in a cultural setting to solve problems, or, and this is the other part he adds to this that I kind of appreciate, or create products that are of value within a culture. Okay, so creating products that are of value in a culture. Right, so it's not just solving problems. Sometimes somebody is able to invent things that may not solve a problem, but enhance an ability or allows us to do something better, more efficiently, etc. And there's great value there. And that too is a form of intelligence, even if they cannot recall all the presidents of the United States and the state capitals. So let's look at Gardner's. He actually, the textbook says he had 8. He actually has 11, 7 main, and then some that are in experimental stages. And real quickly, I just want to run through these for you. You can always refer back to this later if you'd like. Linguistic intelligence has to involve sensitivity to languages. This is poetry and writing and whatnot. Then there's the logical mathematical intelligence that tends to be what is tested by IQ tests in Western civilization. American society, European society, German, etc. Western civilization, we tend to really emphasize the logical thinking, critical thinking skills, mathematical intelligence. Involved with that is reader comprehension, things like that. Okay, so that's the logical mathematical intelligence, able to analyze, investigate, etc. Do things scientifically. Musical intelligence is the skill for composition and performance. A bodily kinesthetic intelligence entails the potential of using one's body. This is like mechanics or technical fields, craftspersons, wood carvers, things like that. Spatial intelligence features the potential to recognize and manipulate patterns of wide space, like pilots or navigators, or confined space, like architects. Okay, so that's spatial intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence. That's the person's capacity to understand the motivations of others and to work efficiently with others. This is like political leaders, religious leaders, actors, things like that. Intrapersonal intelligence involves the capacity to understand oneself and using said information of relegating one's own life. So this has to deal with like stewardship and has to deal with, uh, the desires that we have, the fears that we have, and the capacities that we have, things like that. Okay, so those are the basic core 7. He then questions whether there's a naturalist intelligence, a spiritual intelligence, an existential intelligence, and questions whether or not there's a moral intelligence that's there. He also goes on to say that people have a mixture of these. No one is just one. We're a mixture of them, not all, but definitely not just one, and at different degrees of level in each of those categories, and that neither one is neither bad nor better than the other. That's his key thing, is that somebody who is a gifted musician is not better or worse than somebody who is a mathematical genius. Okay, so both are very much of great value. Now, when we look at just the definitions there and what they have going on, there's a limit to IQ tests, very much of a limit, because they tend to emphasize mathematics, reading comprehension, and vocabulary, as I already had mentioned. Okay, so the tests are very, very limited. I myself have undergone several IQ tests, needed to, in order to be able to administer them, and part of my psychological education, both my master's and doctoral level. And the tests are really weird. One of them was where a guy would repeat numbers to me in a very monotone, rhythmic manner, and I had no idea how many numbers he was going to give. He just went 4, 7, 9, 1, 4, 1. Now say them backwards. That's literally what he said to me, and I went, "Wait, what?" And so that scored me lower. Anyway, I had no idea what I was. It was just so bizarre. So there's extreme limitations with IQ tests. Okay, and so it doesn't. They tend not to do arranging blocks or any type of critical thinking in that level. So there are limitations there. And if you want to go on and get a master's degree or a doctorate degree, you need to take the GRE, the Graduate Record Examination, which is all about mathematics and history and vocabulary, and it's just insane. And it's supposed to predict your level of graduation potential, which is just totally fraudulent. But nonetheless, that's what they do, and that is the emphasis on that. So if you want to get a master's or doctorate, unless you go to a seminary, be prepared for the GRE, and even seminary for doctorate requires that anyway. So now let's go down to this last one, item C, the role and impact of technology on IQ. Okay, this one is absolutely fascinating to even think about and to try to figure out. This one's a lot of fun. So does technology enhance or reduce one's IQ level? And there's been several studies that have been done. Harvard University did 2 studies on this that I thought was very fascinating. One was they found that classical music, when listened to without lyrics, just the music, increased one's capacity for intelligence. So that was interesting. Something about the classical music that they don't have lyrics allows the mind to create a scene in their brain, and it's like using that muscle allows them to develop higher levels of creativity. Another study, a bunch of students did their PhD thesis on this. I would love to get my hands on the data of this thesis. I haven't done it yet. It's very expensive, and I just haven't brought myself to pay the $85 to buy it. I ought to just do it just because I'm so curious. They apparently did their own scientific study saying that watching SpongeBob SquarePants makes kids have lower IQ. Now, I love that. I just want inside of me to just believe that to be true. I really, really, really do. I want to believe that to be true. I just love that concept of that. But nonetheless, I don't have my hands on the data to see if there's not research bias going on or other variables that might be able to explain. Here's the one thing that has been repeatedly shown to increase IQ that's very fascinating, and that is that if you want to raise your IQ, learn the opposite language than what you speak. I know you might say, opposite language. What? Here's how it works. English is a letter-based language. So learn a foreign language that's not letter-based. Learn a foreign language that's picture-based or symbol-based, like Japanese or Mandarin or Hebrew. Okay, and then if you speak as a natural language, a pictorial language like Japanese, then take a letter-based language like Russian or like English or French or Spanish. Okay, and so that allows the brain to build apparently more connections and be able to think in different manners and perspective. Now, technology. Back to that real quick here. Almost got off track. So when it comes to technology, the issue is the IQ level when it comes to like Google. Now, here's what I have come to discern, and this is going to be from my own research that I have done. There's not a lot published on this, so it's just what I've been working on over the past, I would say, 15 years in different church and academic circles and institutions. And that is this, that because of the internet, people are increasing their arrogance, if you will, their assuredness that I have the answer. My answer is right because I read it online. Almost like they trust the format more than the content. But because here's what happens. Someone has an assignment and they want to do research on it. They go to Google, what's the answer to this question? And then Google says, here's the answer. And the answer may or may not be right. Google is wrong about many things. Wikipedia is wrong about many things. Even Google Dictionary is wrong on this definition, because this definition that it spits out is really just the most commonly way it's been used according to search parameters, not what the real definition is. So Google's rough. This is why the internet is not an academic resource for research. So here's what happens. So people type into Google, what's my question? What's the answer? And they get the answer. And let's say the answer is right. They got the right answer. Yay, life goes on. Now, before the internet, before the Google, this is where I get to be a grandpa and say, back in my day, I walked uphill both ways. But when there was not the internet, like when I was getting my undergraduate degree, and the internet was not a widely available thing. Okay, I still had to go to the library, dig out catalog cards, and read books that may or may not have anything to do with the topic that I was studying. Okay, so I had to grab a book that had a title and chapter headings that was possibly related, and then I have to read it to find out, yes, it is, no, it's not. Now, what happened though was I read a lot of stuff that I would not have otherwise learned. Okay, because I read information not pertaining to my topic. Then when time ran out and I didn't have all the answers I wanted to have, I had to figure out how to change my paper in order to fit the information that I had, just to get the assignment done. That different type of creative thinking and problem solving skills there. Now, when later, okay, I talk with a lot of people in my church, a lot of people in classrooms. They'll ask me a question, and I'll just start pulling out all this information. They're like, "Dude, where'd you get that from? Are you like really smart?" I'm like, "No, I just read a lot. I hate reading. I hate reading. I really do." Okay, I hate reading, but I've read a lot. Okay, I read a lot. I read on average almost 1,000 pages a month. I read a lot because I'm looking stuff up, researching stuff. I see something online, I see something on the news, and I grab books. I don't web surf it. I grab books and I read, and it may or may not be relevant, but I'm learning information. Now, if you just Google what's the answer, up comes the answer. All you learned was that answer. Okay, you have not learned anything else, just that answer. Now, yes, it was faster. Yes, you're able to complete your assignments faster. Yes, you're able to get all the right answers and get your A. Congratulations. But in the end, you've learned less than you would have otherwise. So in that regard, technology is decreasing our capacity for IQ. It's not making us dumber. It's decreasing where our ceiling is for how smart we can get. Okay, it's not allowing us to climb as high. At the same time, because we can get information so quick, we can problem solve faster and therefore be more inventive at a faster rate with less potential for failure. So in that regard, it actually is helping us be smarter. So as I see it, technology does not make us smarter or dumber. What it does do is increases the potential of accuracy, but it can also limit how high we can actually go. That's the potential that's there. That's what I have been at least noticing. But nonetheless, love to hear your thoughts and your comments. Go ahead and comment below and enjoy. And I will see you guys later. Have yourself a blessed week.